The film begins with a portrayal from a person named Ben. He specifies that he is going to uncover the greatest, generally all-around secret mystery in human civilization. Consistently after individuals clean their teeth, get under the covers, and at long last nod off, an alternate variant of them shows some signs of life. They are the Sleepwalkers. They branch out in the roads and experience the best form of themselves, with practically no apprehension and stress. Sleepwalkers know about their waking selves, that they complete during the day, yet all at once the waking selves are absent to it. In addition, if the mystery of sleepwalkers is at any point out, that is to say, if the typical individuals learn about them, they will intellectually pass on. This implies that the sleepwalking character of an individual will ultimately evaporate. In New York City, the hero, Ben, wakes up in his condo. He is likewise a sleepwalker, another character that main comes out after his other self hits the hay. Not long after, Ben leaves for work. In the tram, he runs over a lady, Allison, who grins at him tenderly. Be that as it may, Ben doesn't perceive her and basically leaves. That night, Ben shows up at his condo and stares at the TV while eating some pasta. After supper, he nods off, and not long before 12 p.m., sleepwalker Ben wakes up. This Ben carries on with a daily existence liberated from result also, obligation, simply the manner in which he loves it. Sleepwalker Ben prepares to wander into the nightlife to no one's surprise, so he spruces up, takes out his camera from a secret box, and heads outside. In the road, he meets an individual sleepwalker three-pointer, who asks Ben how his waking or day life was. Not long after, Ben and three-pointer are joined by two different folks, Danny and Flynn. The gathering believes that should do something daring and vivacious for the evening, so they endeavor to paint spray painting on a public wall. Ben tapes their famous demonstration, however abruptly, a squad car shows up and pursues them away. Afterward, the gathering shows up at a burger joint, which moreover is Allison's working environment. That's what turns out, she is companions with the young men, so she welcomes them while serving espresso and flapjacks. Ben and Allison be at tease for some time before the last option specifies that she saw him a few days ago. Understanding that she basically saw his other self, he lies that he was too made up for lost time in work and didn't see her. Seeing this, three-pointer and the young men caution Ben to not engage with a waking young lady, as it could obliterate his life. Notwithstanding, Ben doesn't pay attention to them and subtly figures out how to get Allison's number. As the gathering feasts, they get a warning on their watches. This cautions them that it's the ideal opportunity for their other self to awaken. Thus, they rush back to their condos and get themselves into bed. At 6 a.m. toward the beginning of the day, Ben awakens like an ordinary individual, neglectful of the experiences his other self appreciated the previous evening. At work, his manager calls him and notices that he hasn't been considered for a position he had applied for beforehand. True to form, Ben is troubled, however he chooses to continue to work, with the goal that one day the bosses can see his persistent effort and prize him. Sometime thereafter, it is enraged to sleepwalk Ben for getting dismissed working, so he actuates a battle in a bar. At the point when he gets taken out by a more odd, he awakens to his typical character. Briefly, Ben is stunned to wind up in a bar with irregular outsiders. In any case, Danny rapidly takes him out once more. This time, sleepwalking Ben awakens. Outside the bar, three-pointer persuades sleepwalking Ben to not engage in any battles, since typical Ben will wind up in an emergency clinic, uncertain of what has been going on with him. It will likewise cause him mind harm. Three-pointer then proposes Ben leave for the evening and take some rest. In any case, sleepwalking Ben hasn't had a great time, so he goes to the coffee shop to meet Allison. The two have supper and discuss their lives and families. Unfortunately, their heartfelt discussion is hindered while sleepwalking Ben gets the warning to bring back. Prior to leaving, Allison communicates her craving to have one more date with Ben the following evening, and the last option happily concurs. The next night, sleepwalking Ben goes to his ex, Kate's place for some dating guidance. Kate is likewise a sleepwalker. At first, she attacks Ben for coming to her for such a matter, however she in the end settles. Ben uncovers that he prefers Allison, yet since she is a waking young lady, he doesn't have the foggiest idea how to deal with the circumstance. Kate cautions him that he is putting his life in danger for a waking young lady, as his sleepwalking revelation could cost his life. Notwithstanding this, Ben demands some exhortation, and Kate at last begins helping him. She makes reference to that assuming he truly prefers this young lady, he must be careful about everything. He really wants to design dates, deal with her like typical individuals, and lie to her about his normal everyday employment. This time, he likewise must be similarly ready about his other self. Sleepwalking Ben accepts Kate's recommendation and goes to meet Allison for their second night out. The two walk around Focal Park before they go over a huge view stone. Allison believes that Ben should go there, so the pair move up the stone and watch the city lights. Then, the two discussion about their work life. Also, Allison makes reference to she generally cared about to be a performer. She came to New York, trusting a companion would set her up for a recording. Be that as it may, she was tricked. Throughout the previous 3 years, she has been tending to tables and living a customary server life. Thus, Ben likewise uncovers that he needed to be an ocean pioneer since he was a youngster. Along these lines, the pair have a good time getting to know one another until the break of day. Later Ben goes with Allison to her loft. What's more, the two offer a sweet kiss prior to separating. One evening, Three-Pointer and the other young men become stressed as Ben has been overlooking them for 7 days at this point. Three-Pointer calls Ben, who is in the middle of eating with Allison. On the telephone, Ben doesn't specify his relationship also, just lets his companion know that he is wiped out. The fact that Ben hasn't talked makes Allison moreover uninformed about their relationship with his companions. In the accompanying scene, a stressed Three-Pointer goes to Kate's condo to get some information about Ben. Albeit hesitant from the get-go, Kate uncovers that Ben was there a couple of days prior, looking for guidance for dating a waking young lady. Hearing this, Three-Pointer ends up being irate and he reproves Kate for supporting his hallucinating companion. The next day at work, ordinary Ben is called upon by his chief, who illuminates him that she has re-examined his application for the advancement. He will get a meeting call the next morning from the president himself. This invigorates Ben, and he joyfully leaves the room. Sometime thereafter, Ben prepares his suit for the interview. While going through his storeroom, he finds sleepwalking Ben's secret box and the camcorder however sees as nothing dubious. At 12 p.m., sleepwalking Ben awakens and quickly conceals the items in his container in the kitchen. Afterward, he and Allison take a walk around the recreation area. There, she shocks Ben with a charming arrangement for the night out on the town, where she plays her most loved music, and the two dance together. Later sunrise, Ben goes with Allison to her condo and simultaneously, he gets a notice that his time is up. In any case, rather than surging back home, he chooses to invest energy with Allison. The two have cetus, and after Allison nods off, Ben avoids a note and sneaks with regards to the room. Tragically, because of sleepwalking Ben's remissness, typical Ben gets up late and misses his meeting. He promptly rushes to his supervisor's office to apologize for sleeping late and argues to reschedule the meeting, yet without much of any result. Afterward, one of Ben's partners, Randall, asks Ben if he has any desire to go along with him for a lager after work. Furthermore, the last option concurs. Then again, Three-Pointer visits Allison at the burger joint and attempts to drive her to say a final farewell to Ben. At the point when she doesn't tune in, Three-Pointer lies that Ben isn't who he cases to be as he is going behind her back with other ladies. Yet again notwithstanding, his endeavors are vain as a maddened Allison removes him from the cafe. Presently, with no different choices left, Three-Pointer enlists a young lady to move toward Ben and connect with him. At the bar, Ben and Randall share a jug of brew. All of a sudden, Ben is moved toward by Three-Pointer's young lady and they talk for some time. At this point, Ben is as of now inebriated, so he makes out with the young lady. They two then, at that point, go out to have a heartfelt supper. Tragically, the young lady drives Ben to a similar burger joint where his sweetheart works. At the point when Allison sees Ben with another young lady, she blows up and asks him why he is cheating with her. Unfortunately, typical Ben, who is additionally smashed, doesn't perceive her, and he basically acts confounded. This adds to Allison's anger also, she stomps out of the spot, crushed. Back at his loft, when the typical Ben and the young lady have intercourse with one another, they nod off. At 12 p.m., sleepwalking Ben awakens and figures out that Allison mixed up him for his other character. He hustles to her condo, yet Allison doesn't reply. The next night, sleepwalking Ben goes to the burger joint, where he is sorry to Allison. Yet she is disturbed at him for embarrassing her. She likewise declares that Three-Pointer was correct about Ben, that he was as a matter of fact not the individual he is by all accounts. Acknowledging Three-Pointer was behind this, Ben goes to their nearby home base bar and punches him. In spite of this, Three-Pointer attempts to cause his companion to comprehend that what he is doing could cause his destruction. Be that as it may, an unsettled Ben disregards him and leaves. Afterward, sleepwalking Ben goes to Kate's loft, where she shares that her other self is getting hitched. Her sleepwalking self is additionally blurring, yet she doesn't have a clue about the specific explanation. Kate uncovers that she has been hitting the sack early and waking up late for the beyond 3 weeks. She takes note of that perhaps it's the ideal opportunity for her sleepwalking self to blur while the other character carries on with her life completely. One day at the workplace, typical Ben nods off after tedious work, and not long later, sleepwalking Ben awakens in his place. Befuddled, he branches out and takes note Allison going to the recreation area with her guitar. Anxiously, he follows her, just to view that as it's not the ordinary Allison. It would seem Allison is likewise a sleepwalker, yet she changes her sleepwalking character during the day, not at all like Ben and his companions. As the two talk, sleepwalking Allison understands that her typical self has fallen in affection with sleepwalking Ben. The last option requests an answer and Allison essentially proposes he continue on. Soon thereafter, sleepwalking Ben returns to Kate's condo, just to find that sleepwalking Kate has now blurred. He understands that Kate is at long last content with her ordinary self, so her other character has kicked the bucket. This gives sleepwalking Ben a thought. Since he can't uncover reality to Allison, and furthermore can't quit thinking about her, he chooses to kill his character. Consequently, he goes to his companions and offers his arrangement. Albeit the young men are shocked, they support Ben's choice, furthermore, embrace him one final time, prior to heading out in different directions. Back in his condo, Ben composes a plan for the day, which incorporates 3 fundamental needs: to stop his exhausting position, to pursue scuba jumping, and finally, to watch a dusk in the focal park. Following the rundown, from the get-go, he calls his work environment and illuminates his supervisor that he is stopping. Then, he calls an office, furthermore, pursues scuba plunging illustrations. In the following scene, ordinary Allison awakens in her condo and finds a video plate that says, "Play me." Inquisitive, she puts it on and sees sleepwalking Ben. This time, he uncovers everything to her. In the video, sleepwalking Ben describes about sleepwalkers. He specifies that sleepwalkers are individuals with various characters, who share a similar body as their typical self. They branch out around evening time and carry on with their life to the fullest, with next to no trepidation and results. They understand what their typical selves are doing, yet, consistently attempt to regard their limits. The greatest mystery about sleepwalkers is that if they are found by the ordinary individuals, they are killed until the end of time. After this, Ben shares that it's time for him to relinquish his sleepwalking self since he would rather not carry on with that life any longer. As the video goes on, sleepwalking Allison out of nowhere shows up and begins playing the guitar. Seeing her doppelganger shocks typical Allison, and she at long last trusts Ben. Toward the finish of the video, Ben asks one last favor from Allison, to go to Focal Park, also trust that his typical self will show up. Not long after, typical Ben awakens in his loft, and at this point, his other self has as of now kicked the bucket. As Ben prepares for his day, he goes over the plan for the day. Befuddled, he calls his work, just to find that he has leave his place of employment. True to form, this shocks Ben. In any case, he in the end accepts that he did it without anyone else's help. He then chooses to follow the last undertaking on the list, to watch nightfall at the recreation area. On coming to, he sees Allison, who is additionally on her ordinary self, watching the dusk. Since Ben doesn't perceive her well, he attempts to leave, however Allison welcomes him to join her. The film closes as the match partake in the beautiful sunset sitting above the city.